In the long, bloody history of the Great War and the conflicts that followed, few names echo with as much reverence and as much controversy as Thalleous Sindaris. A champion who once held the power of all four prime songs, he was a warrior of unbelievable strength and fierce conviction. His entire life was a monument to the traditions of the Ardoni, to the belief that their very identity was tied to the songs they wielded. To some, he was a hero. He was a mentor to young Sen and a shield for the Ardoni clans against any threat. But to others, especially the Voltaris, he was a monster, a relentless hunter who brought their people to the very edge of extinction. His legacy is a complicated one, a story woven with threads of heroism and horror, of noble sacrifice and brutal conquest. In the timeline we all know, the great Ardoni champion Thalleous Sindaris fell in a final, valiant stand at the burning village of Sindaria, leaving a hole that would define the course of the new war. His death was a turning point, a tragic loss that pushed a grieving Sen down his own path. But what if that wasn't how his story ended? What if, in that one critical moment, fate had other plans? Today, we're exploring a new timeline, one where Thalleous lives and the war against the Voltaris is completely rewritten. A timeline where Thalleous has to lead a broken people while also facing the ghosts he created, including the most personal failure of his long life, his shattered relationship with his brother Gallius. Our story changes in the heart of the inferno that was once Sandaria. Smoke hangs heavy in the air, thick with the smell of death. Thalleous, battered and bone-weary, has just carved his way through a score of Voltaris warriors. He's exhausted. The constant use of his songs has drained his ancient strength, taking a toll that a younger Ardoni could never imagine. And standing before him is Tigran, his eyes burning with fanaticism, the leader of this new Voltaris attack. In the canon timeline, Tigran hurls the spear that finds its mark, ending the champion's life as Sen watches in horror. But here, something is different. Maybe it's decades of battlefield instinct, that sixth sense that comes from wielding the prime songs. Or maybe it's Sen's desperate, terrified cry, a sound that slices through the roar of battle and sparks one last flicker of the champion's old power. As the spear leaves Tigran's hand, Thalleous moves. It isn't the fluid dash of his Mobilium song, he's too far gone for that. It's a desperate, grinding twist of his body, an act of pure will. The spear, instead of piercing his heart, tears through the thick muscle of his shoulder. The pain is a blinding, white-hot flash that sends him to one knee, but he's alive. Sen, on his horse Timber, doesn't run. He spins the powerful steed around, ignoring Thalleus' roar to flee. He reaches down and, with strength fueled by adrenaline and terror, hauls the wounded champion onto Timber's back. An agrosphere, a crackling ball of destructive energy from Tigran, hisses past them as Timber gallops away, carrying not just the boy who would become a hero, but the living legend who had just refused to die. The immediate aftermath is chaos, but a different kind of chaos. For the Voltaris, the victory at Sindaria feels hollow. They destroyed the Sindaris, yes, but their main target, the infamous Thalleous, escaped. Tigran's rage is boundless. He knows a wounded Thalleous is still the most dangerous Ardoni alive. The man who hunted their people for centuries is still on the board, and his survival sends a shockwave of uncertainty through the Voltaris ranks. They were ready for a martyr, a symbol of a dead past. They weren't ready for a survivor, hell-bent on revenge. For the Ardoni, the news is a lightning strike. Sindaria has fallen, a devastating blow. But Thalleous lives. The champion, the one man who stood as a wall against their ancient enemies for generations, is still breathing. In the hidden camps of the resistance, despair gives way to a fragile, dangerous hope. His survival isn't just a morale boost, it changes the entire war. The other clans, who had brushed off Thalleus' warnings as the paranoid ramblings of a relic, are now forced to face the truth. He was right, and the one Ardoni the Voltaris truly fear is still in the fight. Their escape is a blur of pain and destruction. Thalleous fades in and out of consciousness, the spear wound burning like venom in his shoulder. Sen, no longer a boy, becomes a caretaker. He guides Timber through treacherous land, his mind a storm of terror and new responsibility. He cleans and binds Thalleous' wound as best he can with shaky hands and a steady resolve. In these moments, the dynamic between them changes for good. Thalleous, the invincible mentor, is now vulnerable, dependent. Sen, the wide-eyed apprentice, is forced to be strong. They find refuge in a secluded, ancient enclave, known only to the oldest Sindaris. It's here that Thalleous begins his slow, painful recovery. The physical wound is bad, but the wound to his spirit is deeper. Wielding the Prime Songs for so long took a permanent toll on his body and mind, and this new injury only makes it worse. He's haunted by nightmares, not just of the battle, but of his past as the champion, of the faces of the Voltaris he killed, of the genocide he led. Survival hasn't brought him peace. It has brought him a reckoning. He's forced to confront the sheer scale of the hatred he helped create, a cycle of violence that's now consuming his own people. He sees the burning of Sandaria and remembers the Voltaris camps he burned himself a century ago. The righteousness that drove him for so long is cracking, replaced by a gnawing doubt. Sen watches this internal war with a heavy heart. The hero he worshipped is a man tormented by his own legacy. This forces Sen to grow up fast. He can't see the world in simple black and white anymore. Sindaris versus Voltaris. He sees the gray, the endless cycle of revenge his mentor is now trapped in. During this time, word reaches them of the scattered Ardoni resistance. And with that news comes a name that weighs on Thalleous even more than the pain in his shoulder. Gallius. His brother. The news is that Gallius is rallying what's left of the clans, not as a warrior, but as a leader trying to save their people. For Thalleous, facing Gallius is more terrifying than facing the entire Valtaris army. Their relationship was broken long ago, not by war, but by Thalleous himself. In a furious argument about the songs, Thalleous struck his brother with an Aggressium song, injuring him and cementing Gallius' deep-seated hatred for both the songs and Thalleous. They haven't spoken in decades. To Gallius, Thalleous is the embodiment of the fanaticism that has brought ruin to them all. Now, with the fate of the Ardoni on the line, Thalleous knows he must not only fight a war, but also try to mend the rift with his only brother. The war for Ardonia's future has to start with a war for his own family's soul. The reunion is as cold as the mountain air. Gallius has set up a command center in a hidden valley, a place of grim function. When Thalleous and a now hardened Sen arrive, there are no hugs, no words of relief. Gallius looks at his brother not with love, but with the weary eyes of a leader staring at a weapon he's not sure he can control. "You're alive," Gallius says, his voice flat. It's a statement, not a celebration. "The Voltaris certainly gave it their best shot," Thalleous grunts back, his voice laced with pain. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. The other clan leaders in the tent shift uncomfortably. They look at Thalleous with a mix of awe and fear. He's a living legend, but he's also a symbol of a past they don't want to repeat. The First War Council is a clash of philosophies. Gallius, the pragmatist, talks about evacuation, consolidation, and protecting civilians. He argues for a defensive war, to hold on to what little they have left. Thalleous, running on a lifetime of aggression and a fresh lust for vengeance, slams his good hand on the table. Defend? If we defend, they'll pick us off one village at a time, just like Sindaria. We have to strike. We have to show them the Ardoni fire hasn't been put out. "Your fire is what's burning our homes, brother," Gallius shoots back, his voice rising. "Your obsession with the songs, with power, with this endless war. You taught the Voltaris how to hate like this. Are you really surprised they learned the lesson so well?" The accusation hangs in the air, a poisoned dart. Thalleous has no answer, because deep down, he knows Gallius is right. The Death Singers of the past were created in part by champions like him. Ingressus Voltaris himself started down his dark path after Thalleous killed his father and left him for dead. It's Sen who breaks the silence. His voice is steady, with a maturity that surprises everyone. "We need both," he says, looking between the two brothers. "We need Gallius' wisdom to protect our people, and Thalleus' strength to fight our enemies. If we're divided, we've already lost. Sen's words don't magically fix anything, but they force a truce. A new command structure is born from pure necessity. Gallius will handle logistics and civilian protection. Thalleous, still healing but with his tactical mind sharp as ever, will train new warriors and lead strikes. He'll be the tip of the spear, while Gallius is the shaft that gives it direction. It's a fragile, resentful alliance, held together by the thinnest of threads, with Sen standing right in the middle. With that settled, Thalleous returns to his most important job, mentoring Sen. In the original timeline, Sen's training was pieced together. Now, he has the full, undivided attention of the most powerful song wielder in living memory. And it's unlike anything he could have imagined. Thalleous is a relentless teacher. He pushes Sen to his absolute limits, but this isn't the same Thalleous who lectured about tradition. This is a man haunted by his past, and his lessons are filled with a desperate urgency. Power is a tool, Sen. That's it, Thalleous says one evening by the fire, his shoulder aching, a constant reminder of his own mortality. I used to think it was our purpose. I was wrong. A song in the hands of a wise Ardoni can build a fortress. In the hands of a fool, it can shatter a mountain and bury everyone you love. He teaches Sen not just how to fight, but when to fight. He gives him tactical puzzles, situations where brute force would be a disaster. He forces Sen to think like the enemy, to understand their motives. He talks about the Voltaris not as monsters, but as a people driven by a century of pain he himself caused. This new mentorship changes Sen profoundly. He learns the Agressium songs not as tools of raw destruction, but as instruments of precision. He masters Mobilium not just for speed, but for rescue. He sees Porticium's shields as a way to protect others, not just himself. Most importantly, Thalleous finally opens up about his past. He tells Sen the full story of being the champion, of the raids on the Voltaris, and of the moment he found a terrified, clanless child, Sen, and he decided to save him. He confesses his greatest sin, murdering Ingressus' father and throwing the young Ingressus from a cliff, leaving him for dead. He became the death singer because of me, Sen, Thalleous admits, his voice heavy with a 200-year-old burden. The greatest threat our people have ever known was born from my arrogance. That's a truth I can never run from. Don't make my mistakes. Don't let vengeance be your guide. It only leads to ruin. Sen listens, and for the first time, he truly understands the weight his mentor carries. He's not just learning to be a warrior, he's learning how to be a better man than his hero ever was. The idolization he once felt is replaced by a deeper respect for the flawed, struggling Ardoni trying to atone for a lifetime of violence. This is the education that will truly prepare him for what's to come. While Sen trains, the relationship between Thalleous and Gallius remains a frozen wasteland. They work together, but a deep canyon of resentment separates them. Gallius runs the refugee camps with quiet competence, a stark contrast to Thalleus' simmering aggression. He sees his brother training young Ardoni for war, and to him, it's just the same old song on a different day. The turning point comes not from a battle, but a crisis. A plague from the nether sweeps through a refugee camp. The Mendoris healers are overwhelmed. Their Saporium songs can slow the sickness, but not stop it. Panic is spreading. Gallius is about to order a quarantine, a death sentence for the afflicted. It's a cold, logical choice meant to save the many by sacrificing the few. Thalleous arrives just as the guards are moving to seal the camp. "What are you doing?" Thalleous demands, his eyes blazing. "What is necessary," Gallius replies, his face like a stone mask. "A choice you've never had to make, brother. You only know how to fight what's in front of you. You don't know how to govern, how to sacrifice for the greater good." "Sacrifice? You call this abandonment?" Thalleous shoves past the guards and walks into the camp, ignoring his brother's furious shouts. He finds the sick and the dying, their bodies racked with fever. He sees the terror in their eyes, and in them, he sees his own failures. He raises his hands, and for the first time in weeks, he unleashes his own Saporium song. A vibrant green light flows from him. far more powerful than anything the Mendoras could produce. The strain is obvious, his old wounds ache, and the scar on his shoulder burns. But he pushes through it, moving from one person to the next, the green light cleansing the sickness, restoring life. He works for hours until he's about to collapse, with Sen rushing to his side to hold him up. When it's over, the plague is broken. Thalleous is pale and shaky, nearly spent. Gallius stands at the entrance to the now quiet camp, his expression unreadable. He just watched an act not of a warmonger, but of a true protector. He saw Thalleous risk his own life not to kill, but to heal. Later that night, Gallius finds Thalleous sitting alone. For the first time in decades, his voice is free of bitterness. "I was wrong," he says, the words feeling strange on his tongue. "Today, I didn't see the champion. I saw a brother of the Sindaris clan protecting his people." Thalleous looks up, his eyes filled with an ancient sadness. "I've been the champion for so long, Gallius. I almost forgot how to be anything else. I'm tired of fighting." "And yet, you're building an army," Gallius points out, a hint of his old skepticism returning. "I'm building a shield," Thalleous corrects him, "so that one day Ardoni like Sen won't have to fight at all. So they can live in a world where the only songs they need are for building, not for breaking." It's not full of reconciliation, not yet, but it's a crack in the wall of ice that has stood between them for a lifetime. For the first time, Gallius starts to see the man behind the myth, and he begins to believe that this war might not have to end the same way as the last one. The war reaches its tipping point. Under Thalleus' command, the Ardonia resistance has become a deadly, effective force, using lightning raids and superior tactics to outmaneuver Tigran. Thalleus uses his intimate knowledge of the Voltaris, a knowledge gained from centuries of hunting them, to predict their every move. But Tigran adapts, and he knows the Ardoni's greatest weakness, their past. Word reaches the Voltaris of a figure from the Great War, long thought dead, Ingressus Voltaris, the Death Singer. In this timeline, the Ardoni masters would have been more prepared to go to Mount Velgrin because Thalleus survived, giving them more of a chance against Ingressus. Ingressus' return changes everything. He's a brilliant strategist and a master of the prime songs. His goal isn't just to win, but to break the Ardoni spirit. His first act is to issue a direct challenge to Thalleous Sindaris. He names the place, the ruins of the Voltaris camp, the very place where Thalleous killed his father, Dominus. It's a deep psychological attack, champion against Death Singer. If Thalleous wins, the Voltaris leave. If Ingressus wins, the Ardoni surrender. Gallius is dead set against it. It's a trap. He wants to isolate and kill you. We can't gamble our entire future on one fight. But Thalleous sees no other way. "He's calling me out, Gallius. This started with us, and it has to end with us. If I refuse, he'll slaughter our people to force my hand. This isn't about honor. It's about limiting the bloodshed." Before he leaves, Thalleous has a final talk with Sen. "Whatever happens, you are the future. You've learned the lessons I failed to learn. You have compassion. Don't ever lose it." He then turns to Gallius. The two brothers stand in silence. "If I don't return," Thalleous starts. "You'll return," Gallius cuts in, a flicker of brotherly concern in his eyes. "You're too stubborn to die." Thalleous manages a small, weary smile. "Indeed." The air at the old Voltaris camp is thick with ghosts. Thalleous stands among the crumbling stones, greatsword in hand. Ingressus emerges from the shadows. He is a composed, formidable warrior, his eyes burning with cold fire, the prime songs humming with power around him. "Champion," Ingressus says, "you've aged. I was hoping to give you the death you denied my father." "This war ends today, Ingressus," Thalleous replies, his voice steady. Their battle is a terrifying symphony of the songs. Thalleous, despite his age and injuries, fights with a master's skill, conserving his energy, countering Ingressus' raw power. Ingressus is a relentless storm of aggressium blasts and mobilium dashes. But this is more than a duel. It's a debate, argued with steel and song over the soul of Ardonia. Back at the command center, Gallius makes a choice. He, Sen, and an elite force take a hidden path to the duel, not to interfere, but to prevent any tricks. As Thalleous begins to tire, Ingressus presses his advantage, knocking the great sword from his grasp. He stands over him, blade poised for the final blow. "It's over, old man," Ingressus snarls. At that moment, Gallius and his soldiers arrive, but they don't attack. "Ingressus," Gallius calls out, "is this the future you want? Another cycle of death? Another generation raised on hate?" Sen steps forward. "My family was killed by your clan. But Thalleous, he saved me. He showed me the path of vengeance leads nowhere. There can be another way." Ingressus hesitates. He looks from Thalleous to Gallius, to Sen. He sees not an army, but a family. A unity the Ardoni haven't known for centuries. His entire life was defined by the hatred Thalleous once represented. But this Thalleous, and the family standing with him, is something new. In that hesitation, Thalleous acts. He doesn't grab his sword. He dismisses his songs, standing unarmed and vulnerable. "He's right, Ingressus," Thalleous says, his voice full of a deep weariness. "Kill me, and another will just take my place. The hunt will go on. Or we can end it, here, now. Not with death, but with a choice." The war ends not with a climatic death, but with a fragile truce. Ingressus, his quest for revenge complicated by this show of unity and atonement, agrees to a ceasefire. Now, this does strip us of a glorious final battle between Ingressus and Pythus, but I think this fits for our timeline, given how much Thalleous' survival could change the war. The road to peace will be long and dangerous, but for the first time, it's possible. Thalleous returns not just as a champion, but as a diplomat. He and Gallius, their bond finally reforged, begin rebuilding the Ardoni society. The great warrior finally lays down his sword, his greatest battle won not with a song, but with a word. He dedicates his final years to teaching the next generation, making sure the mistakes of the past are not repeated. Sen, now a leader in his own right, stands beside both brothers, a bridge between the old world and the new. So, in this new timeline, Thalleous' survival doesn't just change a war, it changes the soul of the Ardoni people. His journey shifts from one of blind vengeance to one of painful atonement. By facing the consequences of his actions and mending the relationship with his brother, he becomes the leader his people truly needed. Not a champion to lead them into battle, but a statesman to guide them towards peace. The war is rewritten, not with a final victory, but with the first steps toward understanding. Thalleous' greatest legacy isn't the enemies he killed, but the hero he raised. Mentored by a Thalleous who learned humility through pain, Sen is able to build a future free from the endless cycles of hatred that defined his mentor's life. Thalleous' survival proves that sometimes a hero's greatest act isn't to die for his people, but to live for them, and finally learn how to change. The world of Ardonia is full of moments that could have gone differently. What other what-if scenarios would you like to see? What if the Tidesinger had also survived? What if Ingressus was actually given the prime songs at the tournament? Let me know your ideas in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip to an alternate timeline, make sure to like and subscribe for more dives into the stories we love.